The defendant, Donald J. Trump, is guilty of 34 counts of falsifying business records in the first degree to conceal a scheme to corrupt the 2016 election.
We're going to be appealing this scam.
Donald Trump said on Friday he will appeal the guilty verdict that made him the first U.S. president convicted of a crime. That's after a jury found him guilty of all 34 criminal counts he faced for falsifying documents to cover up a hush money payment to porn star Stormy Daniels.
So we're going to show them that we're going to fight. It was a rigged trial.
And it's reckless. It's dangerous. It's irresponsible for anyone to say this was rigged just because they don't like the verdict.
U.S. President Joe Biden said Trump had an opportunity to defend himself in the same justice system that applies to all Americans.
The American principle that no one is above the law was reaffirmed.
Free Trump! Free Trump!
The question now,
Free Trump!
how will this affect the upcoming presidential election? In a new Reuters Ipsos poll, 10% of registered Republican voters said they were less likely to vote for Trump following the verdict. Reuters correspondent James Oliphant.
Polling is one thing and can tell us a lot about what people will say they will do, but sometimes it's not a great predictor of future behavior. Really, is someone prepared to switch parties, especially if they are traditional Republicans, to vote for the other side? And there's very little precedent for that. We have Joe Biden with a 37% approval rating, and someone who is viewed by a lot of Republicans as someone who has done harm to the country. He is not exactly a traffic driver, if you know what I mean.
Trump is guilty!
Thursday's verdict catapults the U.S. into unexplored territory before the November 5th vote.
Go to jail!
Trump's campaign said it raised $35 million from small donors after the verdict, nearly double its previous daily record. National opinion polls showed Trump and Biden locked in a tight race.
Just simply, I don't think we need a convict in office.
My president's got street credit now.
If they can do this to me, they can do this to anyone.
Falsifying business records carries a maximum sentence of 4 years in prison.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Others have typically received shorter sentences, fines, or probation. Trump must wait until after his July 11th sentencing before appealing.
Trump is a disgrace.
You are a disgrace!
Well, basically, my country's been turned upside down. They literally just convicted the President of the United States on 36 felony counts without giving us the charge. They also inverted the whole entire legal process and based the jury's decision on Michael Cohen, a criminal perjurer, and Stormy Daniels, an escort.
You are a disgrace! What you do to the human race! You are a disgrace!
Ah, fucking hell, man.
Yo, you are a disgrace!
You got it, man. Don't worry.
You got it, man!
What happened?
A case where if they can do this to me, they can do this to anyone. These are bad people. These are, in many cases, I believe, sick people. When you look at our country, what's happening where millions and millions of people are flowing in from all parts of the world, not just South America, from Africa, from Asia, from the Middle East, and they're coming in from jails and prisons, and they're coming in from mental institutions and insane asylums. They're coming in from all over the world into our country. And we have a president and a group of fascists that don't want to do anything about it because they could right now, today, he could stop it. It would make it very possible for China to build all of our cars. It was a rigged trial. We wanted a venue change. where we could have a fair trial. We didn't get it. We wanted a judge change. We wanted a judge that wasn't conflicted. And obviously he didn't do that. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We had a DA who is a failed DA. Crime is rampant in New York, violent crime. That's what he's really supposed to be looking at. Crime is rampant in New York. Yesterday in McDonald's, you had a man hitting him up with machetes, a machete. Whoever can imagine even a machete being wielded in a store, in a place where they're eating, and he's going rampant. And Bragg is down watching a trial on what they call crimes. They're falsifying business records. That sounds so bad. To me, it sounds very bad. It's a very serious problem that we have. We just went. Now, I would have testified. I wanted to testify. The theory is you never testify, because as soon as you testify, anybody, if it were George Washington, don't testify, because they'll get you on something that you said slightly wrong, and then they sue you for perjury. But I didn't care about that. I wanted to. But the judge allowed them to go into everything that I was ever involved in, not this case, everything that I was ever involved in, which is a first. In other words, you could go into every single thing that I ever did. Was he a bad boy here? Was he a bad boy there? And my lawyer said, what do you need to go through? And all you wanted to do is testify simply on this case, because I would have loved to have testified. To this day, I would have liked to have testified. Conflicted judge, highly conflicted. There's never been a more conflicted judge. Now, I'm under a gate, and I very much appreciate the big crowd of people outside. That's incredible what's happening. The level of support has been incredible. So the whole thing is legal expense was marked down as legal expense. Think of it. This is the crime that I committed, that I'm supposed to go to jail for 187 years for. When you have violent crime all over this city at levels that nobody's ever seen before, where you have businesses leaving, and businesses are leaving because of this, because heads of businesses say, man, we don't want to get involved with that. I could go through the books of any business person in this city, and I could find things that, in theory, I guess, let's indict him, let's destroy his life. But I'm out there, and I don't mind being out there, because I'm doing something for this country, and I'm doing something for our Constitution. It's very important, far beyond me, which nobody's ever been under. No presidential candidate's ever been under a gag order before. Nobody wanted to bring the case. And then, you know who didn't want to bring the case? Most of all is Bragg. Bragg didn't want to bring it. But then he brought it, and they tried to make it a different case. They didn't say legal expense equal legal expense. Again, if I wrote down and paid a lawyer, and by the way, this was a highly qualified lawyer. Now, I'm not allowed to use his name because of the gag order. But, you know, he's a sleazebag. Everybody knows that. Took me a while to find out. But he was effective. He did work. But he wasn't a fixer. He was a lawyer. You know, they like to use the word fixer. He wasn't a fixer. He was a lawyer. At the time, he was a fully accredited lawyer. Now, he got into trouble not because of me. He got into trouble because he made outside deals, and he had something to do with taxi cabs and medallions, and he borrowed money. And that's why he went. And then he pled to three election violations. And as soon as I saw that, I said, I wonder why he did that. He pled. He took a deal. I'm under a gag order, nasty gag order, where I've had to pay thousands. So we have a judge who's highly conflicted. You know what the confliction is. Nobody wants to write about it, and I'm not allowed to talk about it. If I do, he said, I get put in jail. So we'll play that game a little bit longer. We won't talk about it, but you're allowed to talk about it. I hope you do, because there's never been anybody so conflicted as this. As far as the trial itself, it was very unfair. We weren't allowed to use our election expert under any circumstances. You saw what happened to some of the witnesses that were on our side. They were literally crucified by this man who looks like an angel, but he's really a devil. He looks so nice and soft, People say, oh, he seems like such a nice man. No, unless you saw him in action. And you saw that with a certain witness that went through hell. And when we wanted to do things, he wouldn't let us do those things. But when the government wanted something, they got everything. They got everything they wanted. It was a rigged trial. We wanted a venue change where we could have a fair trial. We didn't get it. We wanted a judge change. We wanted a judge that wasn't conflicted. And obviously he didn't do that. Nobody's ever seen anything like it, because I don't know if he knows about anything. But he's nevertheless the president. We just got a report this morning. In the history of politics, I believe, maybe I'm wrong, somebody will find that I'm wrong, maybe, but I don't think so. They raised with small money donors, meaning like $21, $42, $53, $38, a record $39 million in about a 10-hour period. No, think of that. I like those people. Because so far, I guess it's backfiring. Now, I don't know. I'd rather not have it happen. I don't want to have it backfiring. I don't want to win this thing legitimately, not because they were stupid and did things that they shouldn't be doing. We have to use his name. And this is done by Washington. He's 77 years old. Now, normally I'd say that's an old guy, but I don't feel 77. Nobody ever says that about me. I'd like them to say, gee, we have to have a little sorrow for this man, because they just don't say that about me, but maybe I'm better off that way. Veterans, our great veterans, are living on the streets. This should have been a non-case, and everybody said it was a non-case, including Bragg. Bragg said, until I ran for office. And then they saw the polls. I was leading the Republicans. I was leading the Democrats. I was leading everybody. And all of a sudden, they brought it back. Last year, because all of their criminals, most of them, and the rest are coming. So we're going to be appealing this scam. We're going to be appealing it on many different things. He wouldn't allow us to have witnesses. He wouldn't allow us to talk. He wouldn't allow us to do anything. The judge was a tyrant. Just released a lot of people from jail. Congo, Africa. Just released a lot of people. In many ways, I think they hate our country. Who on earth can want open borders where people are allowed to pour in from countries unknown, from places unknown, from languages that we haven't even heard of? We have people sitting in schools with languages where very few people have ever even heard of these languages. It's not like Spanish or French or Russian. Languages unknown. We have people coming from corners of the globe, and many of them are not good people. Many terrorists, record levels of terrorism, record levels of terrorists have come into our country. A lot of people from their prisons and jails. Little things like our kids can't have a Little League game anymore because you have tents and you have migrants living on the fields. That's the least of it. People are taking over our luxury hotels, migrants, and yet our veterans, our great veterans, are living on the streets like dogs. They're living on the streets. But migrants are living in luxury hotels in cities all over our country, run by Democrats. So it's my honor to be doing this. It really is. It's a very unpleasant thing, to be honest. But it's a great, great honor. We're gonna do what I have to do. I'm going to do it, and the support has been. That's why I mentioned the number of $39 million. That's why I mentioned we're up 6 points. And we went up a lot over the last month because everybody saw it was a rigged deal. It was a rigged trial. But we're going to make America great again. We're going to make it better than ever before. November 5th, remember, November 5th is the most important day in the history of our country. Thank you very much, everybody.